Welcome back to another video on the AC Rounds channel. Today I want to talk about mistakes I feel like I've personally made at the ripe old age of 22. I know, I'm still technically very young. I feel very young, don't get me wrong, but I have definitely got a few regrets that I want to talk to you about in this video for anyone who's like younger than me, or to see if anyone else has gone through the same sort of things. So we'll just start off the first one, thinking that other people give a fuck about me. Now, I went a lot of my life worried about how I looked to other people, worried about what other people were thinking of me, worried about how I came across. When in reality, most of the time, if not all the time, nobody gives a fuck. Genuinely, nobody gives a fuck. It took me 22 years to figure that out, and I am genuinely so glad I did, because since I figured that out, life has been so bliss. Like, I genuinely just go around life now. If people don't like me, they don't like me. You know, not everyone is going to like me. If people like me, they like me. If people think I'm cringy, then they can think that. But at the end of the day, as long as I'm happy with who I am, and I'm happy with how I'm acting and what I'm doing in my life, then that's all that matters. And it took me a while to learn that, but I'm very glad that I did, because it's just made things like a whole lot better now. Now straight to number two. Number two was not going to the gym earlier. Recently, this year, I've started going to the gym. I started in mid-February time, and it has genuinely been one of the best decisions I've made for like a long time in my life. Ever since I was like 14, I'd say, I was like very on and off with the gym. I'd go for like a couple weeks, be really consistent, and then I'd just drop off and I just wouldn't go anymore. And now I've been going for what, 4 months? 4 months now, nearly 5 months, and I'm being very consistent with it. I'm going multiple times a week, you know, trying to go as much as possible, and I'm seeing the results of it. You know, I'm losing weight, I'm gaining a bit of muscle. You know, I feel much healthier about myself, and it's genuinely one of the best things that I have done in recent times. And I just wish I did it sooner. I wish I stayed consistent sooner, because I reckon if I did, my body would be completely different to how it is now. I'm still a tad bit fat, but I'm getting better. Number three was having a skincare routine. Now, this isn't as big as the other ones, but I had really bad acne growing up. Now, when I say really bad acne, I got called pizza face, and I got bullied for it. It was bad. Like, it was really bad. I hated the way I looked purely because of like the amount of acne I had. And recently I've started like trying to get rid of that scarring. And when I tell you, this has made such a difference in my life, even though it's something so small, it has genuinely made such a fucking difference. Like, I have this cream which I put on, and like my skin, although it's not completely clear, it's a lot clearer, and I feel a lot more happy with how my face looks. And to me, that is just one of the most important things, being happy with who I am as a person. For number four, it's going to be investing my money. Now, I spent a lot of my time growing up like following trends, like, oh, you know, crypto, all this, you know, and I never really took money that seriously. Like, I always blew it on stuff. I never put any money aside. There was a long time in my life where every single month I was scraping by for pennies. I remember one time, and I'll never forget it, I went to a petrol station. If you're in America, it's a gas station, right? But I went to this place and I didn't have enough money to fill up my car in my bank account. The card declined. I had to call my uncle to bank transfer me. He wasn't able to. So I had to leave my stuff there, drive home, get some money, because I had cash at the time. So I got some money and then drove all the way back just so I could fill up my car. And ever since then, I refused to have no money to where I can't afford to do anything. You know, where I can't even afford to fill up my car. I've refused to be in the same position. So investing my money, I've started doing it recently. And, you know, it's just something that I'm passionate about. You know, I want to build up my portfolio. I want to build up my net worth, and I'm taking steps to be able to build that up. And number five is thinking that I need a girlfriend. Growing up, you know, I was never the most attractive guy. I really wasn't. I was quite ugly, if I'm being honest. And I always saw, you know, people in school, they would have girlfriends, and I'd be like, oh, why doesn't anyone like me? You know, I've asked multiple people out, and I've been rejected multiple times. You know, I've had girls tell me that, oh, I'm not their type. You know, I've had friends, you know, who know I like a girl, go out with a girl. I've had a girl say to me, oh, I'm not looking for anything, and then next week she's telling me about her new boyfriend. I've had it all. And, you know, I was always the person like craving a relationship, you know. But at the end of the day, I eventually found out, in this like recent times, which I found out, is I should be happier alone than I should be single. And I know that sounds depressing to say, But if I'm not happy with who I am, how am I going to be happy with somebody else, you know? Because at the end of the day, you know, they need to add to my life. They don't have to become my whole life. They just, I want one, don't get me wrong, but they need to add to my life. It needs to be like beneficial for both people. And if I'm not where I need to be for one, I should not be in a relationship. And for a long time in my life, I wasn't ready for a relationship. I wasn't ready, you know, to have that person in my life. And recently, you know, I would say I am ready. I would love a relationship, don't get me wrong. But it's like, I don't need one. I'm happy with how my life is at the moment. If I get one, that's a plus. Don't get me wrong, but I don't need a relationship. And for a lot of my life, I felt like I needed one. And that's just not a good place to be. You just need to be happy with yourself. Honestly, if you're happy with yourself, that genuinely fixes like 95% of the problems people go through. Because a lot of my life, I was lacking like self-confidence, and, you know, I wasn't as good as other people. I wasn't this, I wasn't that. But at the end of the day, I'm happy with who I am now. And that's all that matters. So there are 5 things which I regret as a 22-year-old, but I'm confident to say that I've made steps to, you know, make improvements in my life. But if you guys have any things that you regret, let me know down in the comments so that other people can avoid them too, or just in case you want to share. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.